Biggest difference?
Wait for Mike, please.
Biggest difference from Sunday that you saw tonight that you like?
The mental approach to the game and the way the focus that went into learning a tough lesson the hard way by losing the game, by just not being as locked in as we need to, and but just guys came out knowing that we just beat a really good basketball team, and we talked about our defense, we talked about who we want to be, what we want to be, and how we're going to get there, and we knew we had to get back to being the kind of defensive team that we know that we're capable of and can get better, and offensively understanding that we had to be an inside-out team and put fouls on people, get some guys getting downhill with the ball, and you go back today, if we'd have made our free throws, I would sit here and tell you that it was great all-around good performance. You look at, I told Owie, I thought he really did a good job because we worked hard yesterday, working on, again, trying to play inside out. I said, you only got one rebound, but that was really a compliment to our guards. You look at our guards, that we had 3 guards, and Josiah was out there some, but Santi and Zakai was 6, and then Tyreek with 3, and Jemai Mashak, I thought, he's going to really help us because he is a guy that can guard anybody. But it's a mindset, like it is, I think, every time you go out, and understanding, you can, I'm not sure you can win a game in the first 6-7 minutes, but you can certainly lose one. But I thought the mindset coming out early was good, and the fact that we played well is a great compliment to Florida Gulf Coast because they do a great job. I mean, they're sound, they guard, they got inside out. They shoot 33s, they averaging 84 points a game, I think, and the way we defended is a compliment to our guys.
So Grant, Ben, Mike.
What we saw from Jemai in the second half, kind of what you guys have seen through the summer, talking about him being so improved.
Yeah, he did, and defensively, and I do think, and I told him, I thought at the end of the game he got a little fatigued, but that's really maybe as long a stretch as he's ever really played. But defensively, and when we want to pressure, but yet we don't want to get beat. And second half, I thought as a fine line, you got to dance right there, coming out, continuing with the pressure, but yet not fouling. And they've got to drive the ball. They have to, and because I thought defending the 3-point line well. They did a good job early in the first half of the game, trying to work one side and skip it over the top. But overall, when we switched, we did a pretty good job. I mean, we'll get better there. But Shaq was, I mean, I just think his role will continue to grow because of the fact he can guard anybody on the court, and he's highly competitive. He is a guy that can drive the ball. And you guys seen him in practice and shoot the ball. It's just a matter of time before he brings that out here.
Rick, how do you feel Zakai in practice the last couple of days?
I thought he was unbelievable. I thought, that's the Zakai Ziegler that we know. I mean, he came in the game and it just a year ago. I mean, that's what he did. I mean, the whole tempo of the game changed. And I thought the guys that started were fine. But even a year ago, with Kennedy in the game, when he came in, it just went to a different level. And I really appreciate him. The other night after the game, as soon as we got back here, he called me and said, "Coach, tell me what I need to do." And I said, "I'm going to tell you what I've been telling you for a year and a half now." And I said, "But you can't get away from who you are." And we talked about his DNA and how infectious it is on our team. And I thought he was terrific. And the fact, and he played a lot, probably a few more minutes than we probably would have wanted him to, but with Santi picking up the early foul there, and then we wanted to keep guys out there to give Tobey a chance to really play with some guys that are experienced, and the same with Julian. But I really liked the way the group at the end of the game finished. I mean, I'm not sure we were at our rebounding goal, but I think they got us there. But Z that's who he is, what he did tonight.
Rick, defensively, what went so much better tonight than what you saw Sunday, I guess especially probably late in the first half?
You know what, Mike, I think it was more mindset. I think that we let the fact we weren't shooting the ball well and offensively and things weren't going well on that end because we weren't looking to have any sort of inside game, and I think that we let it affect us on the defensive end. And we got down, but to be quite honest, and I told these guys this, I think they thought that we were just going to walk in and play and be fine. And even in the first half, again, I said it up there, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm not taking anything away from Colorado because I thought Tad did a terrific job. I mean, coming off the loss they had, and the fact that we didn't answer the bell will always be on me. And as much as we talked about it, but yet the fact is, it's a mindset. It was, is a totally different, and you can never ever underestimate anybody you play. That's probably the biggest cardinal sin in athletics, is not being ready to play and execute what we need to do. But looking back on it, who knows? It might be the best thing that ever happened to us. It might be. We'll see. But I know the way we responded tonight is a compliment to our players.
Given how limited Josiah was in the preseason, have you been surprised by how well he's played this early on?
Well, I'm not saying I'm surprised. I mean, obviously, conditioning-wise, he's probably a little bit better. But I do know, even while he was out, he was doing conditioning in other ways. But I think a lot of credit goes to Joe and Garrett and Chad for the way they went about, trying to get him right. But and we played him. I really wanted to play him a little bit longer tonight, again for conditioning purposes. But he picked up his 4th foul, but Chad and G are trying to monitor still how much they want him to go. But I'm not surprised because he's been around, and older guys can do that. They know what they need to do, and but he's been obviously a guy that, when he's playing the 4, which he did mostly tonight, I think there's not a better passer, and when he gets up there, and obviously the way he can stretch the defense, it really opens it up for a lot of things that we can get in the lane.
Wes, then Mike.
Rick, with Josiah, the way he's able to shoot the ball right now, how much of that's just maybe being healthy? I know there's been just one kind of injury after the other the past couple of years. It seems to always be on that left side.
Well, again, you go back, no one's improved and reconstructed their shot more than Josiah. I mean, he did an amazing job when he got here. I mean, totally, and that's not an easy thing to do, but even all the time when he was hurt, the one thing he could do was keep shooting, and he could shoot, and I tell you, when he gets his feet set and he's worked at really expanding his range, and as you know, he's got great hands. I mean, he's got great hands, and he gets his hands on a lot of things in there. What I do like tonight, unless I miscalculated during the game, was the fact that we were getting 5 guys pursuing the ball. There was a lot of hard hits in there, ball bouncing around, and our guards were able to come up with it. We need that, but and Joe gets his hands on a lot of those, and but he'll just, where I think you'll see his biggest improvement will probably be defensively. I think he'll get so much better there once he gets back to moving the way we know he's capable of.
Rick, no Urosh tonight. What's his status right now?
You know what? He turned his ankle. Chad told me yesterday he thought it would be a 2-week deal, but he doesn't think that now because he's really responded well. It feels like most of the swelling's gone, and he's walking. He told me today, I was talking to him prior to the game today, and he said, "Coach, I feel like I'm walking normal." So we think that he'll be ready to play next week.
Rick, then Casey in the back.
What did you think of Julian tonight, especially his way to get to the free throw line?
Well, I liked it because he hasn't been shooting it as well as that he can, but the fact that he was giving us that, and you know what, he really can finish. But every time he goes out, he's going to learn something. He's going to learn the gaps close up. The guy's going to be open for a split second. If you're not ready to give it to him when he's open, that lane's going to close down. He threw it away there at the end because on the other side of the possession before, he missed a wide open guy, and we said, "Hey man, you got to give it to him." And being a young freshman, that meant he's throwing it regardless, and he turned it over. But that's being a couple games into his college career, but he's just getting started. He's working harder defensively. He still is understanding how much quicker the game is. Like Zakai made a really good back tip today, and it should have been Julian's ball. And I think it went out of him. That's where he's got to get active in the gap and know. And our gap help early was really good because they were really trying to get in there. But it's going to be fun watching him mature and grow. And and like I said, he hadn't even got close to scratching the surface yet.
Coach, team chemistry seemed to be really working on the court today. How would you describe the difference between tonight and everyone gelling versus against Colorado over the weekend?
Again, a mental approach. You know, I've often said as a coach, you know, most games you lose it in practice. You lose it with your prep going into the game. I mean, I think when game time comes, everybody wants to win, but if you're not prepared, not just physically but mentally, and as a coach, you worry about it. I mean, I felt it. I told those guys that yesterday. I said, hey, after we beat Gonzaga, I felt there was a letdown. We had and it's tough because, you know, I think we've had 70-some practices since once we started in the summer, and not getting to play much and then playing a game, having a week off. It's a tough time. It really is. But the fact is, we weren't who we need to be. But when I say that, I don't want to take anything away from any time you get beat. But the fact is, that's not who we are. And I believe that, and I told him that. But now we're going to have to reestablish who we are. And we're not going to be able to do it on a one-shot deal. It's going to be, can we come back and do it again, and again, and again.
Finish up with Grant and Ben.
Would you feel comfortable with your front court options if Uros was not available next week, or how do you?
Yeah, that's why we're trying to get Tobey out there early. You know, trying to establish him, and I think every minute. I mean, think about it. I mean, he came up with 5 rebounds. That's what he does. But he can score the ball better than he's putting himself in a bad position because he's putting his feet so close together, and he's trying to figure out when do I play quick and when do I have a chance to hold it and look and feel. He doesn't understand where he is on the court yet, where he needs to be consistently. And then Jonas will be fine. Like I said, Jonas had a temperature yesterday. He didn't practice. He was here, but he didn't practice. And tonight, one time we went big, they sized up to us, but for the most part, they were playing with 4 perimeter players. But I do think that as time goes on, we got to continue to develop that area. I mean, you guys know, I do think people are they do respect our threes, even though we haven't shot it great. Tonight we had good balance, but we've got to be like all good teams, an inside-out team. And we got it not only by throwing the ball to the post, we got it by driving the ball in and getting a part of the paint and kicking out. And so, you know, I thought Santi played really good tonight. The one thing I did tell the guys, you don't have to make shots to impact the game. You don't. You can do it, and Santi, in his own way, impacts it so many different ways. And he actually jammed his finger pretty good, but worked through that. And good guard play. We didn't have the kind of guard, and those guys knew it. They know it, and you know, I say it sometimes, but deep down inside, they know it too. And I think they're who they are and the kind of players they are. The way they bounce back, it showed that tonight.
Rick, I was going to ask you about Santi. It seemed like he was much more under control tonight. Was it a similar improvement from game to game like Sakai tonight? I can only tell you, I tell you all the time, what I tell them is that when you make a mistake, you can't try to come back and fix it right away. But there's on the other side, I can tell you that's a competitive spirit that you want players to have. Sakai has that situation where he will do it. With Julian tonight, same thing. You know, he missed a guy, then he came back and tried to make something happen that wasn't there. That's a competitive spirit, but it's a line you got to kind of dance on. And when you're not shooting well, that's where if you try to do too much, that's where it kind of compounds. And but that's this time of year. That's where you go through these sometimes a painful loss. You go through it, and you have to deal with it. But I mean, Santi's been around. I mean, what he's done in his time here, the fact he's a preseason SEC All-Pick, and the great thing is that I know we can get so much better, and we will, because of the way those guys approach it.
All right, Coach, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.